Now, I mentioned that one of the agencies we were going to look at was the Environmental Protection Agency. So we should talk a little bit about environmental law next. And there are a number of statutes that are aimed at protecting our natural resources. The first one to look at is the 1969 National Environmental Policy Act, sometimes known as NEPA. And that was enacted to declare, in the first place, a national environmental policy and to promote efforts to prevent or eliminate damage to the environment. And NEPA established a Council on Environmental Quality to be responsible for gathering information and for advising the President on the preparation of the Environmental Quality Report, which is a regular assessment of environmental policies, current and future environmental trends, and so forth. In 1970, the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, was established to oversee pollution control efforts, and the EPA was and is charged with working with federal, state, and local officials to protect the natural environment and provide guidance regarding effective environmental policies. So the EPA regulates, first of all, air pollution, chemicals and other harmful pollutants in the atmosphere. And they do that through the Clean Air Act, which requires the EPA and authorizes the EPA to determine what constitutes appropriate levels of common air pollutants, such as ground level ozone and carbon monoxide and lead and so forth, and to set standards for meeting those levels. The EPA also administers the Clean Water Act, which essentially does the same thing with regard to protecting in favor of a safe water supply and to set standards aimed at meeting those levels. The EPA also administers a statute known as CERCLA, the Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation, and Liability Act. That's really about hazardous waste. And CERCLA establishes a fund known as Superfund, and the goal was and is to locate, investigate, and clean up toxic waste sites. The EPA identifies these sites, places them on a national priorities list, and then they try to remediate those sites. In other words, take away the environmental harms and make whatever sites those are safe for the public. They use this fund to pay for that. And the people who pay that fund are the present and past owners and operators of hazardous waste sites. In addition, the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, a different statute, requires anyone who handles hazardous waste to keep particular records of their activities and comply with various rules and standards regarding how they dispose of that waste. There's also the Toxic Substances Control Act, which regulates chemical substances, and the Federal Environmental Pesticide Control Act, which regulates, not surprisingly, the handling of pesticides being exported from and imported into the U.S. And all of those are under the purview of the EPA.